Right then, ladies and gentlemen, it is me again, Dawn Bates, here to deliver even more fabulous wisdom. Um, we're having a bit of a debate at the moment because, as we all know, I'm so very technical, and I was wondering why I always appear so dark. The thing is, if you don't increase the brightness of your own laptop screen, you're always going to appear a little bit dark. So we're having a bit of a giggle here at DBI at the moment. Dawn with her technology problems. But we're not here to discuss that today. We're here to discuss trust and how to get people to trust you. As you can see, I don't take myself far too seriously. I do get people telling me that they can trust me. They just feel that they can trust me. They can tell me anything. And that's something that I've always experienced. And so today I'm just going to share with you some insights on why people trust the information that I put in my books and that I speak about on podcasts. And so without further ado, I am going to share my screen. Oops, just shared it a bit too early. Dun, 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 dun. And there we go. Oops. Yes, so did it. Right. Building credibility and trust in you and your writing. So one of the reasons why people trust me is, as you can see, I am who I am. I don't pretend to be anybody. I have my serious moments. I have my really daft moments. I have my very joyous moments. But what you see is literally what you get. I have my fancy days, my I call them my slob days. I was talking to somebody the other day and we were discussing tracksuits. Now, if I traveled a lot around the world, and since I've been back in Britain, I've been acclimatizing to the different seasons, because when you're in the Arctic, you're in the Arctic. When you're traveling by train, you just need, or sailing the world, you just need things that are going to roll up and going to be really, really comfortable. I'm sick and tired of wearing comfortable clothes, she says, in a very lovely cardigan today, Italian. Not that that really makes much of a difference, but it absolutely does. The Italians are so stylish, aren't they? And anyway, going back to tracksuits, I don't think that I think they're more like pajamas. I don't really wear my tracksuits when I'm out and about. And this is the thing, people, when they see me, they go, "Oh, Dawn." And I am who I am. I don't put on any airs and graces. I'm a bit daft in meetings. I ask questions. Sometimes people think that they're inappropriate. But the thing is, it's about people know where they stand with me. And that is what we're going to be exploring today. Whether that's you in your pajamas outside pretending it's leisure wear. I nearly said leather. You might want to wear leather. And whether that's you in your corporate suit that you take off and whatever it is, let's just build trust in you, because then everything that you're writing has a better chance of people trusting what it is that you're writing about. So here we go. Dun, 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 dun. And I really don't know why I always do that. I in my head, I go, puppy power. And those of you who are nearly 50 or in your 50s, that you will recognize that as Scrappy-Doo from the Scooby-Doo films or cartoons. So why should readers believe you? Why should they? You know, they don't have to, do they? But why should they believe you? And this is, once we understand why they should, that gives us an air of confidence. That gives us an air of trust in the research that we've done. If we just go around spouting things off and talking about things we don't know about, people don't go, "You're a bit of an idiot, really, aren't you?" And it's going to turn people off. It really is. Like, and for example, I attended a masterclass end of last week, and there was one thing that this woman said, and I get it. I get why she said it, but now I can't work with her. And that's the thing. There'll just be one thing that will turn people off. Because the thing is, if you did not understand that fundamental thing about why some people achieve X, Y, Z and why others don't, that I can't trust anything else that you're saying. And what it showed me was the her knowledge was sound in lots of areas, and there are going to be some things that I say that some people go, really, Dawn? Don't think so. And then they're going to go and research it and they go, oh, actually, Dawn was right. Or they're going to say to me, Dawn, I didn't agree with what you said. So I went and did some research and actually I found this out. You might want to know about it. And I'll be like, oh, thanks ever so much. And this is the thing, this is why a lot of people trust me, because if people can prove that what I'm saying is wrong, and they can give me the other information to prove that I was wrong, I am gracious. I'm so grateful. I'm like, thank you so much. That's really helped because it means I've learned something new and there's nothing wrong with that. And that's one of the reasons why people believe me. And it's what has people give me feedback. And it allows us to build this ecosystem, this network of truth. And when there's truth, there's also trustworthiness. Now, I am, many years ago, I was in a board meeting with lots of people and I was going, and then blah, 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 blah. Oh, no, that's actually a lie. That didn't actually happen like that. And then I started retracing my steps and people started giggling. They're like, Dawn, we know it wasn't a lie. It was just you getting a bit confused. But again, for me, it's like if I have made an error, then I'll go back and I'll correct myself. And it's these things that some people might go, oh, that's a bit unprofessional. Never ever look like you don't know what you're talking about. But if you do show that you are willing to learn and that you can pull yourself upon your mistakes, these are all the reasons why people will trust you. And again, it's about showing them that proof, and it's about having this level of transparency that doesn't just come from what you're saying and who you're appearing to be. I'm Dawn. I am Dawn like this on a boat, apart from when we're like serious racing. Then it's like, oh, focus, don't mess. We're going to beat Joyride. That's the boat we're trying to. Oh no, we're actually beating Joyride. We are now going after Silverback. 1 point in it, ladies and gentlemen. Um, again, I'm a butterfly brain. This helps people relate to me, because those of us who, minds going off everywhere. I don't call myself neurodivergent. I don't say I've got ADHD. I wouldn't have a clue. I'm not interested. I'm just Dawn, and this is who I am, and this is what people get to know me as. And then they know that if you want to talk serious subjects, but also have a giggle, then I'm the woman. If you want to actually get a job done properly, then you give it to Dawn. She get it done. When I deliver on my work, or if I can't deliver, then I'm always communicating. So again, it's about always giving people the opportunity to be open around you and to share where they're at when you're being transparent. Well, actually, I'm a bit delayed, can't deliver at the moment. Can I get it to you tomorrow? Da, 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 da. And again, it's like it's leadership of a different kind. It also makes sure that people trust you and people respect you because they know that what they're going to get from you is the real deal. And one of the things that I remember saying to someone, gosh, I was in Sheffield, so it must have been early 2000s, 2009, I think, because Nasa, my youngest, he was just born. And I remember someone goes, I don't like you very much, but I do respect you. I said, that's all I ask, that you respect me. You might not agree with me. You may not like me very much. As long as you respect me, then I'm happy. And I would hate for anyone to be disappointed in me because I think that's worse than people being angry at you. So again, it's like when people know these things and we share a little bit more about ourselves, which some people go, oh, that's very unprofessional, then it builds that trust. It builds that people go, you know what, you can handle Dawn, or you know what, you need to speak to Dawn. You need to read one of Dawn's books. And when I work with my authors, I get their author voice to come out because when you're writing in your own voice and people can see you waving your hands around and hearing your dirty little giggle, as I've been told many times, that actually builds lots of trust across platforms. And you don't need to keep hitting people with the truth or with the stick because the carrot's just as tempting. And you don't have to be this arrogant person because I've always said to my boys, always be confident in who you are. I mean, if you do have a lack of confidence in any area, find out why. Is it because you're not sure of a few facts? Is it because you're not confident in what you're wearing? Is it, it's a new space? Is there something that about it that, that you've never been to before? Or is it tackling a subject? What is it about that certain environment or that activity that gives you a little bit of nervousness or anxiety? Tap into that. Let's go and explore that. And if we look at why some of us are more arrogant than confident, then we start to go, okay, so it's that. I've been told I'm arrogant a few times, but what I actually found out was when I said to them, why do you think I'm arrogant? Well, you always seem to know everything. I'm like, well, don't you think that's just me being intelligent? And again, it's like when you have those conversations, because I'm confident to ask those questions and to challenge those. And because I am intelligent and because I have facts to back me up, it's not just an opinion, it's actually a well thought out argument or debate, or I've got a series of facts behind me, quite literally. So I am known as an authority, but because I do, I'm not pompous, I'm not arrogant, I don't belittle people. I might have a cheeky sense of humor and I might be a little bit sarcastic, but those kind of things, they actually people like, and I know where my flaws are. And if I don't know something, then I'll actually say, well, actually, I'm not going to speak on that subject. And when people go, well, why are you not going to speak on that subject? I'm like, well, I don't know anything about it, or I don't know enough about it. There have been many times on a podcast where I've refused to answer questions, or when I used to be on the BBC, like being interviewed or, on a panel discussion, where they've wanted me to talk about a certain subject. And I'm going, no, I'm not going to talk about that. Don't know enough. Pass it on to the next person. And when you do that, you're actually giving yourself another level of credibility. And people know that you're not, whatever it is that you do talk about, that you're confident that you know what you're talking about. And again, if you're associating yourself, there's a Linkin Park song that I absolutely love. And they sing about being guilty by association. Now, if it was on and the tunes were turned up, I'd be like proper air guitar, and I love a bit of Linkin Park. And because their voice really resonates, their passion and the pain, but their lyrics are very, very powerful. And they do talk about this, that if you're associating with other people, then it can make or break you. So, for example, we were seeing in the news recently last year people who were associating themselves with P. Diddy. We had people who were associating with Jeremy Epstein. Sorry, Jeffrey Epstein. Just makes my skin crawl. But again, everybody that was associating with them over the years were called into question. So those people such as Oprah and J-Lo and Ellen, and they people like, I wouldn't let my kids near them because they'd been associated with P. Diddy. Now, this might be a subject. Those of you who don't know what I'm talking about, really, where have you been? Go do your research. And again, it's like when you are, people love reflective glory. But what we've got to look at is, are you in the right crowds? Are you within the right networks? And are you looking at the knock-on effect of the people that you're networking with? Are they actually introducing you to the right people? Or are you getting caught up in the fame or the prestige or the notoriety? Is it doing you any good? It's always good to take a step back and go, if I get swept up in this, where's it going to lead? Is this something that's actually going to be credible for my brand or not? There was a book that I wanted to work on, well, a subject I wanted to work on. And unfortunately, the two ladies that I was working with or discussing the initial ideas with, there were just a few things I was like, No, I think I'm going to back out of this now, because if you're not at this stage, or if I found out these incongruences in your story at this point, it's probably not going to be a good thing moving forward. And then there have been other people that wanted to join certain books that I've been curating or publishing, and I've asked for evidence of some of the things in their story. And even though the evidence might not go in the book, I need, as their publisher, to know that we've got the evidence, we've got that data. Because otherwise, not only could they get into trouble, but especially if it's an anthology, it'll be everybody associated with that book. Now, we've all seen anthologies going out with, goodness knows, 20, 30 people in there, which, you know, I would never do a book with 20 or 30 people in it. There's too many. There's not enough meat to the story. But if you are writing things in that book that are incorrect, everybody associated with you is tarnished with that brush. Everybody who's ever, I've always said that I put a lot of pressure on myself, because everybody that's ever believed in you, everybody who's ever supported you, invested in you, or worked with you, when you start behaving out of turn or writing things that are not congruent with the truth, or they're not accurate, and you don't have the evidence to back that up, everybody is tarnished. You've let a lot of people down, not just yourself. And when you get to a certain level, all eyes are on you. So it's always good to start with really strong foundations. Now, these might sound like really simple things, but if you're spouting one thing but living a different thing, which is something we're going to get onto, there's an incongruence. And you've got to make sure that everything that, if you, for example, when I was just working on a book recently, the content was great for one particular culture. But unfortunately, when we explored the content, it didn't stand up in other communities. It didn't stand up in other nations. So one of the things you need to be looking at when you're writing or when you're speaking on something is, does the facts and the figures that you have, are they accurate? And will they be seen as accurate in other countries? So, for example, when we had the pandemic, I was in Argentina, I was living there at the time, and I was going into Brazil. And my mum was freaking out about all the protests that were going on in Brazil. And I was like, Mum, I don't know what you're talking about. And then she sent me this link to all of these protests. And I was like, I've seen those before. And it turns out a lot of the things that were being shown on the TV here in Britain, the protests that my mother was referring to had been protests that had taken place several years before during an election campaign and had nothing to do with the pandemic and with the COVID. So again, it's like, whose information have you got? And does if you're writing something historical, or if you're writing about something cultural, and you have a certain set of data, are you checking it with the country that was also associated with it? Because some of the rhetoric that gets put out about certain things, like, for example, recently we heard with the American elections, the US elections, that the US was one of the best places for immigration in the world. Absolutely isn't. But what people were doing was they were jumping on these sound bites, and people in Britain, they regurgitate a lot of things from the dailies, like the Daily Mail or the Daily Express, not newspapers I would choose to have in my home. Not that I have any newspapers, but again, it's like, when the Daily Mail online are putting stuff out, and then you've got people like Elon Musk retweeting it, people that follow Elon Musk blindly, they start believing it all. So when you live here in Britain and you know that some of those things that are being reported are absolute rubbish, you have a duty to challenge it to the people that you know. So, for example, when I wrote Wallahi, there was a woman who lived 3 doors up from me, going onto American TV and talking about what was going on as if it were like, apparently we were living in the London Blitz. We were under fire. Everything was being destroyed. And I was like, I can't have this. It's absolutely not true, especially where we lived. And we had to get to those certain places, we had to go into Tahrir Square itself. And so not only did I write a book about my life in Egypt during the uprising, but I also went onto TV and onto radio to talk about it. So that, again, it's about that credibility and where are the gaps in all of it. If you're hearing other people speak out, and then there's another narrative, can you write and share the information you have in that gap, and then associate some of the things with each two parties? I'm talking like as if we've got a pyramid here, so that you can actually bring your credibility up, but you're associating yourself with them, calling them out, or you're backing them up, and then you're building those affiliations. So again, we need to make sure that when we're reporting on things or we're writing about certain things, we have the data. I cannot stress it enough. And please do not use ChatGPT. In fact, one of the things that I tried to do this morning is, I thought, because if someone said that they use ChatGPT for their CV, so I thought, you know what, I need to update my CV. It's been a while, because I'm pitching for some larger contracts. So I said, using these CVs, these are my accurate ones, and my website and what's out there in the internet, create me a CV. Oh my God, the stuff that came back. I had no idea about these things in my life. There were books I'd written I had no idea about. There were magazines I'd written that I'd never heard about. I thought, gosh, and I know. And they had got links to certain things, and then I click on them, and it's like, that's not me. Do you know how many Dawn Bateses there are in the world? Oh my goodness. I'm so busy with that CV, I have no idea. So again, please do your research, because when you're doing it, and then you're going out on stage and you're speaking about it, you have to actually internalize, you have to know and believe and trust everything that you write and speak about. Because if you're speaking about something you're uncertain about, then your confidence is not going to be great, and people are going to think that you're lying, or they're not going to trust you. And that was a very long step 2. I probably covered step 3 and step 4 all at the same time. So let's just have a quick read, shall we? I like these to be nice, fun sessions. Okay, so the bold truth, like I was saying, this lady that lived down the road from me in Egypt, we need to be able to deliver things. And one of the things that I've always done when I do public speaking or I deliver these workshops and facilitate lectures and what have you, is that some of the stuff I talk about is really heavy stuff, and there's only so much human trafficking or, trauma subjects that we can talk about without them getting a bit too heavy. So we actually need to make sure that we are drawing people in, and we're warming them up. Because if I just came in and went boom, 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 boom with like facts and figures, and I haven't got to know my audience first, or I've just gone in and I've just started delivering without letting people know why I was there, people are not going to be they're not going to be as open to engaging. Now, someone's asked me recently, why do I do these sessions? Why do I offer the 45 minutes free consultation? It's just a sales call, isn't it, Dawn? I said, no, my mission is to support 1 million authors. I would love my YouTube channel to reach 1 million people, because then that means I've got a measure then that I've supported and helped 1 million authors, even if they've only watched one of these sessions. And that's the thing, it's like, this is a bold statement for me to make, and I want to be able to deliver. If you want to work with me, you want to work with me. If you don't, then that's fine. I've got enough work to do. If you don't, there are lots of people that will. And again, it's this self-belief that I have that comes across in my writing and within my work, and it actually earns me the belief and the trust and the loyalty of my readers and those who work with me. Now, one of the things that I do write about a lot of personal things. Some people go, well, it's a bit of an overshare, Dawn. I mean, I'm not sharing my toilet behaviour. I might share some personal information, but one of the things I'm doing is I'm setting the stage, as I was saying. I do share because I want people to relate to me. I want them to know that I actually do know what they're going through, especially when I'm talking about a subject that I have lived experience of. Because to use a film analogy, if you've watched a film or you've read a book and there's something in there that you know quite a bit about, and you come across a bit and you're like, well, that's not right. And I know that's not right. Mm. And then everything else about it, you become quite skeptical about. So, for example, Robert Greene, there was some information in his 48 Laws of Power book. And I remember I was in Tatajuba in Brazil. I'd just been kite surfing in the morning. Oh my God, that's just crazy sport. I'm like reverse engineering your brain. And if you've never done kite surfing, you have a tendency to want to pull, to actually, curl up in a ball, but don't do that because unless you want to go really fast, because when you pull, you go fast. You need to let go, surrender. But I remember lying there after a day of kite surfing, and reading the 48 Laws of Power. And I was absolutely fascinated. But there were a few things I was like, oh, really? I didn't realize that. And then there was just stuff about the Arab world that I read. And I was like, yeah, if he's got these basic fundamentals wrong, how can I trust everything else that's written in this book? And I just, for me, there are a lot of us with trust issues. And sometimes when we overshare, it's because we want people to trust us. And we want people to know that we are, that they can trust that we know what it is that we can't say that we know what they're going through. And when people say, oh, I understand what you're going through, unless that person has actually been through something very similar to what we've gone through, that how can they possibly understand? It's like when people, you phone up and you listen to people doing the customer service thing, and they go, no, I completely understand what you're going through. I said, do you actually? No, you don't. Because if they've not run a business and they don't have kids and they are single, or they haven't had to pay the bills, or they haven't had to do this, they can't possibly understand what you're going through. And again, it's the choice of words that we're using. Again, it's the authenticity. Are we sharing because we want to be authentic and we want people to know about us, know that we actually know what we're talking about? Or are we oversharing because we want pity, or we want sympathy, or we want to manipulate something, or showing that we've got the courage? Now, what's going through my mind at the moment is there's a young lad on Instagram called Tay. Absolutely huge. He's like 540 pounds. And this young man is being so vulnerable and he's sharing his weight loss journey. And I only came across him the other day and I was like, oh my goodness. My first instinct was like, how could anybody let themselves or their child get to that size? What has happened? And it wasn't a case of me judging negatively. Oh my God, look at that. It was like, what happened? Has he been ill? Has he been, like, what led him to be into a situation such as that? What's the backstory? But one of the most beautiful things about this is the sharing that he's doing. He's sharing his bold truth. He's there and, he's walking up the stairs for the first time and he doesn't know how long. And it's such a raw story because he's sharing, like, sometimes I can't sit up for more than 2 hours and I want to quit. But I wonder, how would I want to share my weight loss journey in the way he is? He's being so authentic, so trustworthy with his journey. And it's that people are relating to. Um, he's not doing it for pity. He's doing it to inspire, and he's also doing it for support. And I think that's the distinctions that we've got to look at, the fine lines between why are we doing it? Are we doing it for notoriety? Are we doing it because we want the followers? Are we doing it because we want the pity party? Or are we sharing what it is that we know because we want to make a difference, not just in our own life, but in other people's lives? And how are we sharing our journey that has us flip people's understanding of what they can do and what they could be grateful for? And it's really beautiful. It's a really beautiful community that he's building. So I feel very blessed to have found him. So again, it is a very touching story, and I know that I'm waffling on today, and I've hardly had any coffee, but I am about to have some tea. So bear me a second. Tea. Okay, so what he's doing, he's pushing his own boundaries, right? He is, and this is the thing, when we push boundaries, we are going to get pushback. When we do these, when we share information with people, um, some people are going to be really quite triggered by what we say. So I know that I say plandemic rather than pandemic, and that's going to trigger so many people. And I also know that I believe that there is a cure for cancer, and that a lot of cancer charities are committing corporate manslaughter, because we know there's a cure for cancer. We know that cancer cannot grow in alkaline bodies. We know that organic eating and exercise and positive thinking and not using any chemicals in your food, and not eating processed food is much better for you. So there's no point to keep researching it and taking money off people. Now, these are quite bold claims, and it is going to piss off a lot of people. But when I know lots of people that have cured themselves from cancer through taking the turkey tail mushrooms, organic living, like fruit and veg, no meat. I mean, I don't know if I could go no meat, but I have done before. I've done 7 years as a vegan. But again, we know that there are treatments out there that prevent us from getting cancer, and it's natural lifestyle. We know that big pharma actually poison us a lot more than necessary. But again, there are some people that are not willing to hear this truth. We also know that here in Britain, the NHS is actually causing more harm to the people who work in the NHS, because they're overtired, they're not paid enough, so they can't rest, and they're grabbing food that's not healthy for them, and they're absolutely exhausted, and they're dealing with members of the public that are, quite frankly, quite rude. I've come back to Britain and I have seen signs up saying, please be respectful. And again, it's like all of these things that we witness in life and we go through in life. This is what we pour into our writing. This is what we pour into our articles. This is what makes us who we are. So when we write about things that we know about, and we have these connections, and we talk about all of these different subjects, then, and we're natural in who we are, that is where we're going to build people to follow us and connect with us and trust us. Now, it might sound like I've gone around a lot of different houses. It might sound like I'm talking about things that are completely unrelated to our writing journey, but we are who we are. And if our author life is so far disconnected from our actual life, then how is that going to work? It's almost like there's, for me, I can't see this. It's like a psychological breakdown, because you can't pretend to be something and remember all of that. You have to just be yourself. And this is why I say I'm an author coach rather than just a writing coach or a book coach, because as an author coach, it is about developing who you are. How are you going to show up for yourself and your book? Are you somebody who is very eager to go out and do book signings? And if you are you going to be in a bookshop having a side conversation with someone, and if someone overhears you, And they go, oh my God, I never thought that person would ever say anything like that. Oh my God, I built that person up to be this such and such type person. And they're absolutely a different kind of person. And this is why I'm sharing with you all of these extra pieces, because it only takes someone sharing something that you've said or record. You can't do anything these days without being recorded somewhere. Goodness gracious, I'm sure the internet's going to be awash with little videos of me dancing in train stations with my music on, or walking the dog, dancing around the park and having a real wild party to myself. Wouldn't be surprised if there's little recordings of me singing on a train, unbeknownst to myself, obviously. But again, I am who I am, and because of that, people trust me, and people navigate towards me, and they're attracted towards me because they know that if they do bump into me in the bookstore or in the store, wherever I am, and yes, I know I'm using the store to those of you in Britain, but it just means that we can just be ourselves. There's no pretense, there's no airs and graces. And it means that we're going to be invited to lots of things that are going to help us promote our books or present us with opportunities that we would never probably had or been comfortable in. Because if you remember in step one, it's about your confidence and it's about your courage. And when we're talking about those, we also have to address the comfort, because if we're not comfortable with what we're doing and who we are, we're not going to be confident. We're going to have that air of arrogance because we feel like we've got something to prove. None of us have got anything to prove to anybody because we are perfectly imperfect as we are. No one is perfect, and anyone who says they are, they're on a prescription. So again, look at what you're living and breathing, and if you have a certain belief about certain things, find your audience and stand by them. Stand by your values, stand by your beliefs. And if it gets rid of people, gets rid of people. It doesn't matter. If you're challenging to somebody, let them be challenged. Let it be a growth journey for them. Doesn't matter if you challenge someone. It's brilliant. It's one of the greatest. Being challenged is one of the greatest gifts we can have, because it means that we're growing. It means that we're coming stronger. So when you do your weights and you increase your reps and you increase your weights, or I swim extra lengths, or I swim with my mitts on, to build my upper body strength. I'm challenging my muscles. I'm challenging my lungs to become stronger. So if someone challenges you or you're challenging other people, this is a good thing. So never think that you are not enough. And I remember someone recently told me that look at you with all your books in the background. You think you know all the things that you've read. And I was like, pick a book. Pick any book you like, pick a page. And it's not the first time I've had someone challenge me on the fact that I have so many books behind me, I can't possibly have read them. Pick a book. And if I haven't read it yet, I'll have read it, and you want me to read it by next week, I will endeavour to do so as long as it fits. Again, it's present who you are to the world, and then your author life and your writing becomes a lot more fluid, because when we are truly who we want to be, then our writing flows a lot easier. We go from writing maybe 500 words a day to possibly 5,000 words a day. That is the beauty of being yourself when you're a writer. Oh, I'm loving this subject. Okay, so pretty much what I've just been saying about don't let imposter syndrome win. Just be yourself, because when you're yourself, there is no imposter syndrome. And if someone challenges you, rise to that challenge. And the whole thing about the narratives that we challenge, we would never have laptops and we would never have Wi-Fi if someone didn't challenge the norm, if someone didn't challenge design ideas, or if someone hadn't said, you know what, I'm sick and fed up with going everywhere by horse and carriage. It's too bumpy, it's too cold, it's too slow. We would never have the motor car. You know, if we did not push boundaries and we did not challenge the narratives, then, you know, where's the win? Be consistent across all your books, your posts, and your pictures. I could say pigeons. Um, Sorry, I just had hammam and hammam. Hammam is pigeon in Arabic, but also hammam is the hot sweat rooms, the sauna kind of things in Arabic as well. So they're very close, but they're completely different. Again, my mind with all the different languages, I know that if I'm saying something in a certain language, sometimes I have to change the tone or the speed at which I speak. If I'm because these are delivered in English, I know that there will probably be some people who are listening to this where English is their second language. And for those people, if I am speaking too quickly, then I do apologize. But when you think about my three dominant languages, Arabic, Spanish, and English, mucho rapido. They're all very fast languages, especially Chilean Spanish. But again, it's about making sure that you're actually honest with who you are. Because yes, I used to be fluent in Spanish and I used to be fluent in Arabic and Portuguese, Brazilian Portuguese. And I used to be able to just go through the day not thinking about Italian. I just used to flow. But now I'm not fluent in all of those because I don't speak them every day. I'm not surrounded by those languages every day. So I've had to update my profile. I have basic Arabic and Spanish now. Put me back in Italy in a couple of weeks, I'll be fluent again. Again, we have to make sure that we're remembering who we are and what it is that we can deliver. Because when we do that and we go, okay, this is who I am, we can actually stand firm and go, this is who I am. And this is the new version of myself. This is the evolved version of myself. And when we do that, then again, that's another layer of trust that people have. And when we show up as ourselves, it matters because we are giving other people the permission to be themselves. And it's something that, you know, when we are going into, when I go into different networking events, so it goes, oh, you're Dawn. I'm like, oh dear. Is that a good, oh, you're Dawn? Or is that a good, oh, you're Dawn? And it makes people laugh. Again, it's always good I like the word, I like being cheeky, I like being playful. And these are words that have always stuck with me, cheeky, passionate, and playful. Because when I do walk in a room, people know who I am, or people recognize me, I'm approachable because I don't take myself too seriously and because I am friendly. And I think people are as surprised about what comes out of my mouth as anything, as I am. So it's always a giggle. But again, you've heard the phrase, are your ears burning, or were your ears burning? And that's probably because people are speaking about you in different rooms. And let that be that they're talking about you in a good way. Because if they're talking about you in a bad way, then obviously that's going to damage your writing, that's going to damage your reputation. And it's not nice to speak unkindly about other people. And so when I speak about situations, well, I just said when I speak about situations, because I don't like to speak about other people, I like to speak about the situation, such as I mentioned Tay, his whole weight loss journey, that's a situation. That is an inspiring movement that he's got. So again, his ears are probably burning. I'm speaking highly of him. So courageous. He's such an incredible young man. Makes me cry sometimes watching him because I just don't want to give him a hug. Okay, so I'm running. Feeling like I'm on fire today. I was like, oh my God, what's in this tea? So again, it's like when when other people are talking about us in these different rooms that we're not in, this is a good thing. And this is where our referrals come from, or our not referrals. We just get to be ourselves. We don't actually have to perform or be a performing monkey. We don't have to feel that we we can't be ourselves. I mean, that must be horrible to think that you can't be yourself. I don't have the brain capacity to be anyone but me. But I do wonder what it must be like to feel that you can't be yourself. Um, that must be horrible. It really must. Um, and I remember recently I was on stage and I had to take my shoes off. I couldn't stand there in heels. I said, you'll have to excuse me, I've got to take these heels off. I've been on boats and on beaches in my bare feet for many years. It made people relax. It made people breathe out. You could see there was a relaxation vibe go straight across the room. And again, it's about that earning trust. They trusted me before I even spoke another word. They'd also learned to trust me by the people who'd gone before me and who knew about me. And it's because I surround myself with really good people who are trustworthy people. I'm that ride or die kind of woman. So if I've worked with you or like we're friends, it's like, don't tell me you want to achieve something because I really will help you achieve it. And I will encourage you. And I'll also remind you to be kind to yourself, and actually take a moment to breathe and just witness yourself. Just take breath. Just go, you know what? It's okay, I've got this. Reflect back on how far you've come. I said to my son earlier, I want you to sit back. This last year, we've had an incredible year. I want you to go back and write down the name of the month over the last year, July to July, and I want you to go through and write down everything that we did in those months, everything that he did in those months. Because it's one way of you getting present and you become that silent witness for yourself. You become your own cheerleader because you get present to everything you've achieved, everything you've learned, everything that you've overcome. Have you, like Tay, been able to sit for 5 hours instead of just 2? I mean, I can't imagine what it must be like to get exhausted after sitting up for 2 hours. And it really makes you think. And that's the kind of leader that we want you to embrace. I want you, I say we, there are lots of me. This is not Abraham Hicks. I know that Esther talks about we. But if you haven't seen Abraham Hicks, where have you been? But go find out. Um, but again, it's about looking at where your power is. And you can only do that when you take that time. We're all rush, 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 says the woman who speaks at 100 miles an hour. We're always rushing. And sometimes we just have to take that breath, get present to everything we've achieved in the year, like really present, and then look at where there's that congruent behavior in every area of life, so that our fitness, our health, our mind, our soul work, our family, our education, like that wheel of life. It might be cliche in the world of coaching or in the world of personal development, but it's so fantastic. It really helps you get present and get balance in your life. And it means that if you're achieving this in one area and you're talking about this in another area, are you greenwashing? So for example, what I mean about greenwashing is, are we talking about, say, environmentally friendly behaviors or practices in one area, or criticizing other people for not being environmentally friendly, but then we're buying lots of things that are plastic, or we're using lots of microwaves, or we're using like microwave food? Are we looking at, do we take the car when we could actually walk? Are we choosing a raincoat and some rain boots instead of just getting in the car? Are we looking at the fuels that we're burning? Are we looking at the amount of heating that we're turning on? These are just some of the things in our own home. What are the fabrics that your clothes are made out of? Are you just buying things? If you're talking about environmental practices, are your clothes made out of plastic? Are they made out of polyester, or are they made out of cotton, wool, and linen? Again, it's like, if you are going to talk about a certain thing in one area, you need to be making sure it's congruent throughout the rest of your life. Okay, so the congruent behavior, because if we're not, what we're doing is we're doing what they're calling greenwashing. So you've got a lot of companies who are putting out all of these environmental messages. You know, we do all of this, we plant all these trees, you know, this is all recyclable, da, 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 but they're not recycling the oils or the fuel or the packaging or they're churning out lots of when they're washing their their machines, they're putting all of the chemicals down into the earth. So for example, to use a sailing analogy, because obviously we all know I'm a sailor, and if you don't, where have you been? Where have you been? Then in a part of New Zealand, they wanted to build, it was just outside of Auckland off Waiheke Island, they wanted to build a new marina. But the problem is, if they had built the marina there, they were talking about it's all very environmentally friendly. It's bringing people to the island so that they can learn about all of the, you know, the native native wildlife, blah blah blah, and the marine ecosystem. But if they'd have built the marina there, they'd have completely destroyed it. And the thing is, a lot of sailors, they say, you know, it's environmentally friendly to sail around the world, but then they're using chemicals to wash their boat. And it's just like, hang on a second, that's not congruent. And I know this is a very simple example of greenwashing, but it's about saying you're doing one thing in this area and then not doing it in the other. Like my laptop is post-consumer recycled. It's like made from like lots of recycled plastic and recycled parts. I reuse pretty much everything, and it takes me ages to find clothes that I like because I don't like wearing clothes that have got plastic in them, like the polyester. I don't like it. My trainers are made from recycled tires and ocean plastic and, you know, fibers. And again, it's like I do a lot of upcycling and, you know, exchanging and charity shopping, because it's about making sure that there's not a lot of wastage in the world and that we're actually having a positive, sustainable impact on society. So where in your life are you making sure that everything that you're talking about or you're writing about is congruent? Are you willing to mention that you do these things? Because when you're not congruent in your message and you are not showing up fully as yourself, so people can't trust you, this is when we're kept awake at night. Oh my God, did I say that? Are people going to are people going to trust that? You know, are my books going to sell? Am I going to get that booking? Are people going to believe me? Like, and then you just like back and forth, back and forth. Is it good enough? Is it, if you know who you are, and you know that you have done your research properly and you have lived it and you have breathed it and you're showing up as yourself where people can trust you, and you do not speak about things you do not know about, there is no reason for people not to trust you and what you write about. And if you have any doubts about why people should trust you, you need to change that about yourself so that people can't trust me. Change it to people can trust me. People do trust me. Change your story, change your life. And I got that from my friend Tonya, who's from Norway. Absolutely wonderful woman. And again, the words that we use are absolutely so important. For ourselves and our positive mental attitude, and you know, the way we speak about ourselves and the way we speak about other people or about situations. The world is always listening, the universe is always listening, and we are always listening to the things that we say. So if you're not going to be your own best friend, if you're not going to buy your own books, and if you're not going to promote your own book or your own writing or yourself, then why should anybody else? And that, ladies and gentlemen, is it for today. That's 7 steps to trusting yourself and getting other people to trust you. Just be yourself and know what it is you stand for. So thank you for accepting my invitation to connect and grow together through the art of literature. And absolutely love a bit of literature. I can't even say the word today. Literature. Oh my God. If you would like to have a 45-minute session with me, please do head on to click on the link that's in the email and that's below. I know that the system has been changed. I know that Tai, I still have to get rid of this one. We are working on it, aren't we, Tai and Khaled? So it will be done very soon. We've just had a book published, and which is something that I wanted to talk to you about. So if you do decide to take one of these 45-minute sessions with me, no, they're not a sales call. It's me driving forward to my mission of supporting 1 million authors around the world. And you could actually be one of these people who are on my website. These are all the people that I've supported over the last 10 years. So yeah, you could actually be on my wall of fame. And these are, if you haven't seen my own books, here they are. This is the kind of quality. We're actually changing the cover for that. But there are just some of the books that we've done. So if you would like to join my website and become on that, get on my website as one of my authors, then you can help join me by working on my 7-week author course, which is a self-study course. You can join my author academy, which we're launching next month. Have a manuscript assessment with me, or you can actually work together on an anthology, or you can just hire me as your one-on-one coach. So the choice really is up to you, ladies and gentlemen. And that concludes our session for today. A bit of a long one, bit of a waffle going on, but never mind. It was fun, I thought. So have a lovely rest of the day. And if you've got a question, do book in for a call with me or send it through LinkedIn or through the website. All right, then. Thank you so much. Ciao for now.